For those people online, we will be starting very soon.
Call to order for a special meeting dated March 29th, 2023. Take the pledge of allegiance.
Okay, so Board of Finance has asked that we cut total 320,000 from the budget, is the number I have, correct? Not us, but total between us and the selectmen. And I talked to Bob today and they came up last night with 155 out of theirs, plus they were able to find about 15 more in revenue. So that leaves us at about 150 for our number. And that kind of leaves it up to you, Troy. I think you and your team have been working on a few things.
All right, so basically, it's hard to predict exactly where cuts will come from because we'll be getting SBAC scores back in July. And depending on the result of that, we could reprioritize. However, our best answer at the moment, if we have to cut the amount of money that the Board of Finance asked us to cut, see what it would look like. We would not renew a math interventionist position at Wheeler High School and instead hire a social worker in the budget. As you know, that's a priority.
In the budget, I thought we were gonna move it to Esther. So, okay, Okay.
A little bit better.
okay.
Better. We had recently a music teacher resign. And we would replace that full-time position with a half-time position. However, given what Christine just said, we may have the selectmen save the music program. We would cut the number of bus runs from 13 to 12. And we would move the two elementary paraprofessionals we're asking to put into the budget, into the ESSER grant, the ESSER 3 grant. So with all of those cuts, we do come up to the 200, approximately 200,000. But if the selectmen are really finding an additional 50 more than they needed to when they're able to allocate that to us, we don't have to, we could actually hire a full-time music teacher to replace the person who resigned. And we would not cut a full bus run, but we would cut an afternoon bus run. So we'd cut half a bus run, basically half a bus, which is about $60,000 for a complete bus run. So the cut would be only 30. And by doing this, it hurts because we don't have math intervention at the middle school, high school. It hurts because if we do have to cut half a music program, then we don't have the instrumental music instruction that we should have. We have one fewer bus runs, maybe half a bus run if, again, the selectmen save the day. But that means more kids riding on a bus. That means potentially kids on a bus longer amounts of time. That means potentially fewer bus stops. All right, so that means increased inconvenience for families. In addition, we are moving the elementary paraprofessionals, the two, into the ESSER grant. But because we're doing that, we're going to have less money to run regular ed summer school, less money to run after-school homework club, less money to potentially offer any after-school program at the elementary school with grant money. So there is an impact on this. However, by taking that impact, we're able to get the priority things like the social worker we desperately need, as you know, and we're able to get the two paras at the elementary school, but they're going to be in a grant. So they'll have to go into the regulated budget next year because we aren't going to have that grant money next year. there's an impact, and luckily, if indeed the selectmen can come through and we don't have to cut 200 and we don't have to cut 140 or 150, then I would say that we would restore the music program to full-time, that music position, instrumental music. And again, we're going there because this person resigned and we don't have to lay off a current employee.
Sorry, just for clarification, is that elementary or high school? Middle
It's
school,
it's
middle school?
actually both. That person does instrumental music in both schools.
Okay, thank you.
So long-term impact, there would be no instrumental music program in our district.
No, well, there would be a half of music, the half of instrumental music teacher,
Yep.
if you can find it.
Yeah, how would you find a part-time? And then how would that still be spread between middle school, high school and elementary if it's part-time?
Right.
Would have to figure that out.
Do you have dollar amounts, like full-time for music? What part-time looks like for music? The bus run you said is 60K, cutting 1.5 is 30K. Do we have numbers on that? What is the music position salary currently? And is that with benefits?
All right, so the current music position is about 50,000, so half of that would be like 25.
Okay, can we get exact? They're
Yeah.
gonna want exact numbers. I
Yep.
mean, it's gonna need to
Yeah,
be.
we do have that. We just
Okay.
don't have that maybe right, Andy, at the moment. But Bill, maybe you can get that real quick.
And then also, does the current music teacher take benefits?
We can't say, that's confidential information.
Oh,
But we can know the overall impact and savings by losing that teacher. And if then what that number is, whether you say it includes or not in terms of benefits, we'll know the total number of dollars saved by having them gone, yeah?
yeah, losing that position, what's the impact to the budget?
And what step is that person at currently? Because I have the contract up in front of me right now.
Bill, we have those numbers on my whiteboard.
I'd also like to see the financial impact of the math interventionist. And then talk a little bit about how that position is at the top to be cut.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I'm really against the math interventions cut, no doubt, because we got here only because we were struggling on the math scores and stuff. And music teacher, we've been known for music and the love of it, and the kids have really enjoy that program. So I would be very against cutting that to halftime even. So those are the two tough ones for me. Bus runs, if parents feel the pinch, then parents could come out and say something.
And we need to analyze the transportation anyway. So it might be a temporary thing while we're really making that a priority to start analyzing that sooner than
Could I
later.
request that we don't hire the social worker right now and maybe wait or hire a part-time job? It seems like we're hiring one person but we're gonna affect more other positions instead or other territories.
I can appreciate that, Phil, but the social worker is critical. If you remember when Troy presented, this is the #1 position he absolutely needs for the school support right now. Our current social worker's caseload is way too big, 80 students. It's
And I totally
unmanageable.
understand that, but as a business, as money-wise, isn't that gonna,
So I want you all to know that what I just proposed to you was fully supported by the administrative team. And we are the professionals who know the impact on the schools probably best. And it was unanimous that we're all behind. If we had to take the cuts, this is what we would do.
I totally appreciate that you guys are the professionals, but I think it needs to be articulated the why. And then I think it will make more sense to all of us, as well as the residents, when we start talking about the fact that we're cutting academic instruction and
Okay,
support.
so yeah, I agree. You should understand more of the why, but I just wanted you to know that the administrative team was 100% behind this. Okay. So-
And my only ask is gonna be, I just think we are gonna need to know the exact
Yeah,
numbers.
we're,
on
Bill,
each of
Bill's
these.
going to get them. We
Okay.
have them. One of the whys on the math interventionist is we believe that that position could be based on data that we know now, it's less needed at the high school. It's more needed at the elementary school. We still have a math interventionist plan for the elementary school. But based on the data, achievement data, and math scores, we believe that is less needed at the middle school, high school. And we believe that the math teachers who are at the middle school, high school may be able to give the extra help and interventions for those kids. But it really depends on additional data that'll be coming out after the kids take the S back. And if we don't get till the beginning of July.
That data is also going to be skewed by the fact that they've had an interventionist helping them at the middle high school to
That's
get to
right.
those SBAC scores.
That's right.
So
That's a factor. But if we look at the caseload of kids getting help with math intervention now by the math interventionist, it's not a huge number. I don't know the number right now. I can get that number for you. But it's not a huge number. So we believe the impact would not be as great. And we believe having a social worker is potentially way more impactful. So kids are mentally healthy versus struggling in math, and we think we can handle the struggling in math part in a different way because of the small caseload. Of course, that can change when the scores come out, right? We can be like, oh, you know what? We actually do need math intervention. So let's refigure what we're gonna do. Thank you, Bill.
I would be curious what that caseload looks like because it's a smaller number, but it's a big impact to those kids. And those are some of our struggling students who we're trying to give that extra support to. I'm fully in support of the social worker and I think that needs to go in. I think that it's unconscionable that we're
So
doing this to our current social worker, but
I do have some numbers if you would like them. So the math interventionist saves $57,480. The half band saves $22,349. I was calling it instrumental music as band. Same thing. The bus run saves $60,060. And by moving the two paras into the ESSER three grant, that saves us $60,131.
and just so I understand, it's just, we're kind of putting the two paras into that math interventionist money that had been approved previously. Is that how that's kind of working? Is that those two paras are taking the ESSER money that we're saving by
No, we had-
eliminating the math
No,
interventionist,
no.
or the
we-
math
We
interventionist
had the
is
math
on salary?
interventionist in the regular budget.
Regular budget, okay.
So we're taking it, that's a cut out of the regular budget, but taking the math interventionist out.
and
Yeah, we have the social worker in the budget, in the proposed budget.
Where
Right, so
where is the
keeping
extra
that
ESSER
in.
money then?
What's that?
We have extra ESSER money from where then?
ESSER three grant we have through next year.
But I mean, it's
But-
gotta be moved from,
Yeah,
like, we're using
right.
it for something
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Yeah, so we're not gonna have,
We're not using it for something now.
ESSER three money we have for next year.
But-
But
We didn't have anything allocated for the ESSER three money for next year?
I thought that Troy just said that after-school programs were gonna end up getting cut because we're using
Yeah.
the ESSER three money to fund those para positions rather than so homework
right.
club and those types of activities.
that's right.
That's what the ESSER three money was gonna go
Well,
to.
and I think in the
Okay.
past, we've specifically asked exactly where's our ESSER funding and we were told it was used, so I thought we had interventionists being
do.
used by that as well.
Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
but those were not just rolling over into ESER three
We
for
are-
next year. I would have assumed that that ESER three money was being used on the to continue, because ESER two dollars are ending. So those positions and those people are moving into ESER three money, no?
And I didn't realize our interventionist ever made it into
They'll have
our actual budget. I thought that that was the issue with us addressing at the end of ESER three, was that we had these interventionists that we had funded out of the grant, and we would then have to make a determination if we
Right.
wanted to continue.
That's true. Bill, we are planning on using ESER three money next year, right? For interventionists at the elementary school,
Oh, it's not
Right.
this is-
right? So yes, we're paying a full-time math interventionist at the elementary school is going to be paid for out of the ESER three money grant next year. And I think maybe that's the only one, because the part-time reading is paid out of Title One.
So this 6131 for the paras though, I guess I'm still confused. I apologize if I'm being dense here.
No, I think we're all
But
confused a little bit.
if there's ESER money available at $60,000,
Where's the cuts?
where, what are we losing by that 60,000 moving to the paras? We must be losing something. So are we eliminating summer school for regular ed? Is that?
Yes,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think,
it
I
would
think
be
we need to be really
for
clear.
2 years.
All right, so I think
But can I-
initially it sounded like we're just reducing it. We're removing regular ed summer school.
But I also now need to ask the question, with the state requirements in increased credits, those opportunities for credit recovery are now reduced. So a student who fails, are they still going to have an opportunity to be on track for graduation with the class of 2025 with those new requirements in place if we remove summer school for the next 2 years?
Is
Okay.
it ex-
So that was more of a supplemental or something along those lines, but we still have the credit. Okay. So it's the credit recovery version that will still be intact. Okay. And,
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that would be good.
and with regard to summer school, is there a cost incurred for students who need those extra funds, or are we funding the summer school as well?
We fund some summer school, we always have.
Okay. But I'm talking, obviously, if a student needs an ESY, an extended school year, that's covered. But when we talk about a student has now failed classes and now is taking summer school for the purpose of credit recovery, are we charging a fee for that, or are we allowing them to take that course effectively a second time and paying for that out of our education budget?
We're not charging a fee for it, but we would not be offering regular education summer school.
I think the terminology is throwing some of us off,
Yeah.
because credit recovery to me is a regular ed service, not an ESY. It is not, so when we're talking credit recovery, we're talking, there's a kid who's a junior this year, he fails English. He needs to do summer school so that he gets his credit recovery for that English credit. So going into his senior year, he has 3 and can take his senior English and graduate on time. That is not special ed. That is regular ed summer school. Is that what we're taking out?
We-
All right, so and what's the dollar amount? So these programs equate to about $60,000 that we're going to be able to fund paras with instead.
I'm sorry, can I just take a step back? Can you explain to me again? And I apologize if I'm not following. what is in the ESER two right now that you currently have? And then what you predict will either be removed or no longer continuing, just so I like, because I know when wasn't it last meeting, we voted to end some positions because they're 1-year terms. So is that affecting those positions as well? Like, so I'm just trying to put all the puzzle pieces together of what is in the ESER two, what you wanted in the ESER three, and what is now not there. Please.
So who's our ESER two? So we don't have it next year at all. This is what we're working on, what's in there, what happened to these positions that were in here? Are these the ones we non-renewed? What happened to the positions that?
And then we have, currently
Here it is.
3 para positions that are being currently expensed through ESER two. And there's more money and there's more money available in ESER three than there was in ESER two. It was a larger grant.
Okay, so then what you're saying is then we have one open position in ESER, from ESER two as like essentially the math interventionist.
Correct.
Okay, and then you're keeping the reading specialist. So that's position 2. And then the 3 paras are being carried over,
Correct. And adding
but there's only 1.
2 more,
And then you're adding 2 more to that.
right?
So does that difference, you said the ESER 3 is larger. So do the extra 2 that are paras that are coming over, are they essentially taking place for that budget, whatever the excess
Well,
is?
they were paras that okay, so we budgeted additional paras in the regular budget.
Yeah,
So now we took them out of the regular budget and moved them over into the ESER three grant.
because you have extra money
So we have
there.
extra money there.
Okay,
But the problem we're trying to avoid some of this, because next and fiscal year 25, they really got to go back to the regular budget.
okay, so that's personnel, but then there's
Yeah.
also, you had the supplement summer school, right? That was in ESER 2.
Right, so the salaries for the paraprofessionals and teachers who did summer school came out of the ESER two grant and the ESER one grant this summer
Okay,
before that.
and there's nothing else then out of the ESER 2.
These
Oh,
moved
homework.
from
Okay,
ESER
homework
two
club.
into ESER.
Which is not a huge amount.
Okay, but that's it. Okay,
Yeah.
so it sounds like you had this extra position. So I guess I'm just trying to figure out like why things are being cut. If you're saying it's more in the ESER 3 funds. Do you see what I'm,
Well, it's being cut from the regular budget. Not being necessarily cut from the school.
from the ESER?
See,
Yeah.
the object here is to lower the regular budget.
Yep, I got that.
So in order to lower the regular, we're taking people who were budgeted in the regular budget
Yep,
and now moving them to be paid for from a grant.
yeah, I hear you on that. I guess what I'm trying to figure out is what the plan was for the ESER 3 that we're now losing because we're taking from the regular budget. And that's what I felt wasn't clear to me.
Well, that would be, the main thing would be the summer school.
It-
Not the summer school for credit recovery, it's more the elementary summer school. And it was really summer school for kids who needed to catch up because of COVID.
Can I ask a question about that math interventionist? Because I think Bill just said something that was a little confusing to me and I just want to understand it. So I think what you're saying is that when we lost that full-time math teacher this year, our interventionist flipped into that spot? Is that,
Not completely. Took over
So-
2 of the classes from that teacher that left. So
so,
continue to do math intervention as well.
but
Funded
sh-
from budget.
funded from our budget and the services of the intervention services shrank.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about cutting this position and you talk about need, it's because the interventionist has already been providing less intervention than when we hired her.
Yeah, but it was needed.
No, I
yeah,
totally get
because
that.
of the
I totally get
coverage
that.
issue.
But as I'm imagining getting rid of an interventionist, what you're saying is it's almost been phasing out. And we've started to do that this year as
Yes.
that interventionist started teaching
That-
regular ed math
and-
and
yeah.
providing less intervention
Right,
services.
and that's one of the reasons why we believe that position, if we have to get rid of something,
Yep.
there's possibly less harm there than cutting somewhere else.
And that makes more sense.
Okay.
So the other option would have been that we would have hired a new math interventionist that would have been on top of the fact that our interventionist moved into this math program.
Right.
Okay.
So we budgeted for 2 positions in the budget. One to replace the math teacher to the left and one for the math interventionist. And what we're proposing now is we cut the math interventionist for 67,000. I was on the glasses,
57,480,
sorry, it's
yeah.
57. 57,480.
I think some of this stuff will be easier for us to follow at budget time next year. If when these changes are being made, that we really have a full discussion about the change and the impact. That took a long time for me to understand that we've sort of already been doing that.
Well, and I remember when the math interventionist moved into the math position because we couldn't hire
Right.
for it. But I didn't realize that that ended with not replacing the interventionist
Right.
with somebody else.
And that the reason why that was okay is because we didn't need that
lowering
much
the math
intervention.
Right.
But then I would ask, that person, let's say, and I'm thinking the interventionist worked like periods of the day, right? Like first period, second period, whatever it was. If they're only working 3 of those periods now as interventionists, did they shift students enlarge those sections that they were working? Or did those sections stay the same because the need wasn't there? When we start looking at staffing, did you still serve the same number of students, but you then condensed it to 3 periods a day or 2, however it was working based on the schedule, and then have the interventionist teach those other 2 classes? So were fewer students served, or was there really need and we put those kids into larger intervention, groups of intervention?
Yeah, I don't have those exact details. Any of what you just described could be true. And the reality is some kids need intervention one week and they don't need it the next week. Because it's a new concept that they're getting.
Right.
So it's a fluid
Oh.
kind of thing.
And I understand that. I mean, a kid could be in an intervention classroom for 3-4 weeks and then get it and then move on, and
Yeah.
that's fine. And then new kids come in. And I understand that those intervention classrooms are sort of fluid entities, but I just, just was curious as if the same numbers were being serviced over those 3 periods versus
Yeah, I don't.
5 or whatever it
I
might
don't
have
have
been.
that.
See it as an issue.
Yeah, Kristen.
So I understand budget wise for moving forward, what you're looking at pulling out, Troy, and how you can explain that. What I would like to see for us at our next board meeting. We had projected for ESSER 3 this year, $213,000 for funds spent. So I'd like to see where we're at with that, what we've moved out of that and what carryover we will have going into 23-24. Then I would like to see for the 23-24. Currently, we had projected 106. So if that's now higher because we had some savings I'd like to see exactly where we're allocating that and the exact dollar amount so that if we have any ESSER funds left at the end of the 23-24, we need to be looking at that and how can we leverage that differently if possible? Is it possible to get that information? Just to be really clear, so the ESSER two, this year we had projected about 95,000 and that's going away. So this year we also projected about 213,000 in our budget for ESSER three. So if we were able to do some savings by moving an interventionist into that math position part-time, what was that savings? That would obviously move that into now the 23-24 ESSER money because that's one grant spread over 3 years. So if we had some savings there, is it moving into next year? And how does that look? I certainly think for budget wise, we can see that we're able to move the paras over. I'm just wondering if there's even additional monies in there so that maybe we don't have to cut some of these other programs, hopefully, as much. So I think we just need really clear dollar amounts of those grants, if that's okay, Troy.
Yeah,
That
we
makes
get
sense?
Yeah.
I would also ask to know how many kids participated in regular ed summer school last year? To have some idea of the number of kids we're impacting with that if we were to eliminate it. I'm sure for some parents that was a lifesaver for them in terms of their ability to function over the summer and have their students still learning and also,
How many kids you said?
How
I'm
many
gonna just
kids?
make
I'm
a
just-
note of that.
yeah,
Okay.
I would be curious how many. I mean, are we talking about 25 kids who took part in this or are we talking about 150 kids? I have no idea. So.
So how many kids is it impacting? All right, and then,
I'm trying to understand about summer school. We're not removing summer school completely, right? What does summer school look like after this budget?
We would do the extended school year program for kids who have IEPs, who need the summer school. But beyond that, there may be, we may be able to do some credit recovery, but I'm not quite sure if we could do that or not. But we would not be doing the part about kids are behind because of pandemic for just like skill recovery.
Okay, so they would be required to be an IEP to participate in summer school.
To be guaranteed a summer school opportunity, but even all IEP kids don't qualify for summer school.
And I know you don't have this number off the top of your head, but I would like to know what the cost per student is for credit recovery in summer school. Because I know many districts, if they offer it, they do offer it at a charge. And it might be something to explore if we're going to offer it as a credit recovery option.
cost per credit?
Yeah.
Okay.
I also wanted to ask, so between both boards, the Board of Finance asked us to cut $322,000,
320,
320.
I believe that was the number, yeah. Brett, is that right? Was 320 total? Do you know? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Okay. So, so if it was 320, okay, the Board of Selectmen cut 155.
Yes, yes, and there was a $15,000 revenue impact. So the Board of Selectmen is basically absorbing 170,000 of the 320.
170,000 of the 320. So then that would mean that
We have 150 left.
150 to cut.
Mm-hmm.
Well, doing the math between the math interventionist and the music teacher half-time and the bus runs 13 to 12 and moving the two paraprofessionals over to the ESSER 3 grant, that is a cut from us of $200,000.
Right, which is initially what we thought we had to do. So now what we can look at is a half a bus run instead of a full, possibly.
Because now we have 50,000 to
Right.
play with after
Mhm.
right here.
So the half is 30K for the bus run?
Did M&J indicate what the impact would be to our students if we do this kind of a bus run cut?
We asked. And, they haven't gotten back to us. We asked, over a week ago, Bill? And they said they'd get back to us on it, and they have not. We do believe, based on our observations, that they can absorb this, with some inconvenience.
And what
There-
kind of
there-
inconvenience?
Well, there are more kids on a bus run, longer bus run, potentially. Right now, they sometimes have drivers that are sick and they're down a bus anyway, and they make do. And, sometimes they could be down two bus drivers, and then they'd have to make do. I don't know, like, how many days, if that's even happened with two bus drivers. Imagine it has. But we believe, based on our observations, that this could be absorbed. Of course, bus companies never wanna, we're paying them by bus. They don't wanna say, all right, we can do it with one less bus run. Okay, and so we called the bus coordinator, the bus manager, not our local bus coordinator, the bus manager, and talked to him. And, he was gonna be getting back to us and has not yet. But like I said, based on observations, of what we see happening, we believe it can be done. Bus companies never want to say, yeah, no problem, give us less money.
I'd like you guys to think a little bit about, or I'd like to propose, just looking at time a little bit. Our music department, just to let you know a little bit, the music band department right now is a little bit down in students. And the chorus was similar to that a year or two ago. And then we brought in this teacher that's absolutely fantastic, and chorus is booming. I think we can do the same with our music. Our kids deserve to have that. We can't just cater to sports. We need to also have these other art outlets. If we can find the right music band teacher, I can't imagine anybody coming into part-time teach band. It just doesn't even sound like something easy to find. I'm sure finding a full-time band teacher is difficult at this point. So I'd propose that we look at the math interventionist as suggested by the admins, a half of a bus run, and moving those two paras gets us to 147,611.
Troy, I'm not in favor, but if you went over with your administrators and you're comfortable and they're comfortable, we have to put our faith in what you're saying right now. So I guess we have to move forward on this.
I like to make a kind of my own, suggestion to at least think about, cut the full bus run for the 60,060, the two paras, the 6131, keep the music teacher in and do half a interventionist, and I get 148,931. So I like to have some.
I think that's a good thought too, especially because we are looking at transportation, so this could be a
Yep.
temporary solution.
I would support that, Alex. I'm not happy with the current, I mean, I respect you, Troy, and your admins, and I know that you have thought about this, but I would not support what just came through, but I would support the bus, especially if we're gonna look at that. And I'm just, what the Paris, we're gonna move over, right, to the Esther?
Right. Take the,
I think we just need to make it clear that those paras are needed and they need to come back next year.
Mhm.
Like, we keep doing this. We keep pushing paras
Right.
into weird places, and then they're down in staff and they need this position. And so with the understanding, and I know we can say this all we want, and then next year at the budget, it's going to happen again. But we need to be serious about the para situation again.
And the reason why we moved the paras into the ESSER grant instead of the social worker is because the social worker, as you know, has been a huge priority. So we didn't want to risk having to take it out of a grant and put it in the regular budget next year with the 3 paras being paid through the ESSER 3 grant. We want all of those in the budget next year. However, you could get 1 or 2 or 3 back. So it's a little easier, I think, to pull paras out of the grant than it is a full-time social worker, because you might not get all 3, but maybe you get 2.
Can I ask a, kind of a logistics question? We already approved a budget. I don't think any of us are in favor of the cuts. The Board of Finance said, show us what it looks like. do we have to approve a budget to go back to them, or can we just show them what it looks like, saying our approved budget stands?
I think, and for them to bring it to a balance, then you need to cut the budget and vote on it.
What if it doesn't pass tonight? What if 5 of us say no?
Right.
And don't approve that? We can still show them what it looks like.
Mhm.
And I'm not suggesting that. I'm just asking logistically,
I don't think
we were
they're
asked
voting to
what it
go
looks like.
to the hearing night. But I'm not sure that we have a meeting before they do that. So I think we'd have to send an approved budget to them at some point. But I hear what you're saying. They said, show me what it looks like.
Mhm.
We're showing it and not saying.
A-
that
And
we like
they
it.
got to have vote after vote after vote where they never met in the middle, or they never came to consensus. So I'm just wondering, I feel like we're being forced to vote on something that none of us find palatable. And so I'm just curious if anybody knows the logistics of that, if that's possible, do you have any idea, Brett? I don't mean to keep it moving to you, but. Okay, when is our next meeting? Well. That's what's on the calendar, right? But I don't think we're going to be meeting Wednesday. In fact, I will tell you, we are not meeting Wednesday of April vacation.
We don't have anything on the schedule for next Wednesday, and next Wednesday, according to the budget calendar, is the Board of Finance final review of the budget.
Okay.
So I would imagine that we would have to give them by 7 o'clock next Wednesday an approved version of our budget.
So how would everybody feel? Again, I'm looking at time. I would like to know a little bit more about the ESSER monies. I'd like to see that a little bit more in depth. Certainly we can get a motion to move this forward if you guys are comfortable with that, or we can call another special meeting and discuss further after we hear more from the Board of Finance. Tonight, we didn't have full support from the Board of Finance to cut our budget.
Well, I think
I-
we can show them the impact,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So, and I also, I have to say, the halftime music is not going to be something that I'm going to put into a budget as something. Our instrumental music teacher does more within our school system than most instrumental music teachers do just in a high school. I mean,
Mhm.
they run the entirety of that instrumental music from what, 4th grade, 5th grade on? That's insane.
Mhm.
It's an incredibly, we get so much out of that instrumental music teacher that it's absurd. I have to be I'm concerned about moving Paris to Esser because it's just kicking the can down the road. I feel like that's just the ongoing process that we're doing, is that we just keep doing that. The one thing on this that I would consider in terms of a change is that math interventionist. I would be willing, based on the explanation that we've been given, to adjust our budget by the 57,480. And that would be the only thing at the moment that I look at this and say, this is something that I think I would feel fully comfortable just saying I would eliminate that position. It seems like we are not actually letting a teacher go. We already have somebody moved into a separate position. It's a non-renewal more than anything else, and an attrition aspect.
I'm gonna
Otherwise-
suggest we don't vote on that. I just want to be careful about optics. So I don't want it to look like, yeah, Board of Finance, we heard you, we don't like it, and we're not doing it. I don't want to set up that dynamic, but rather we looked at everything. Here's the impact. We're concerned about the impact. We're looking more closely at the impact, but here's what we could show you it would look like. And then next week, prior to your meeting, Board of Finance, we will send something to you that's approved.
I would rather do that as well.
I don't want to say like, well, we cut 57,000, but like, that's all I think it could look like that. And I'm concerned about that look.
I just think there was a lot of questions going around the table tonight that I would rather have some answers to some of the questions. I think we should show the full impact. That's what they wanted to see. They really didn't say cut it we can have a special meeting before they move it forward. I think they're gonna have a lot of discussion tonight about, do we really want to cut that or don't we? They're still at an impasse there a little bit. We're not saying we won't, but I just think forcing our board to vote on something that we're not comfortable with, when there's still some things that we'd like to see a little bit more information on. I mean, Troy hasn't had, between last Wednesday and this Wednesday, there hasn't been a lot of time to pull the information together. It's a really big budget. And if we're being asked to trim, I think we owe it one more pass for. Right. Yeah. Right.
I feel like we should bring them a number tonight, not to necessarily vote on it, but, Alex, I'd like to hear what you had, your thoughts, what you had said again.
That was 148,
There was
871.
148. I would like that, to-
931.
I'm sorry,
148, 931. It's the two paras were 60, 131, the bus was 60, 060. And then half a interventionist, which was 28, 740.
How many kids are gonna be affected by the bus? You have a number on that?
It's just one run, so we don't know yet.
I don't know. It really depends on what bus.
And that's the other thing, we haven't heard back yet from M&J. So I think there's some pieces of information that I would like more information before we just,
Yeah, I don't want to cut an interventionist fully until I understand that we're good.
yeah, I feel like they asked us to bring them a new number, and I agree we should not vote on it right now, because we do have some questions, but in good faith, I would like to bring them the number 148, and this is the impact.
And
this
Alex,
is
I
what
got
we're looking at
148,871.
148,000.
But I think whatever impact we talk about, yeah, we have to understand the taxpayers, we have to keep them in mind, but I think we also need to remember that we are here to serve our students as well, and whatever impact we have, it's going to be an impact on our.
No, 100%, 100%. That's why I don't
Right.
want to vote on it tonight.
so are we
But I wanted
comfortable
to-
sharing the numbers, letting them know we do need to do some more research? If we need to bring something forward voted on, we will do that by next Wednesday.
Yes.
And I,
But this is, they wanted to see the impact. This is the impact.
yes, yes, the number but more so the impact of the students as well, or of the programs with making
Right.
these cuts. I think that should be explained to them.
Much more
tonight.
discussion about the impact to the student than the impact to the number.
Yes, tonight.
Okay.
Yes, I second that. Like, I think there really needs to be a discussion of what's getting cut if we move these things over to the ESSER.
No, you're right.
Because I'm concerned about that,
Okay.
definitely. Yeah, that needs to really be explained.
Okay. Okay. Are you comfortable with that, Troy?
Yes, I am.
Sure.
I think we don't want to lock it in stone. We want to say this is our best answer at the
This is
moment
tentative.
because the SBAC scores may come out and we gotta reprioritize. We always got to look at data to make this educational decisions in the best interest of the kids.
So the only other thing I'd like us to wrap up, I think we're going to move over non-lapsing if everybody's okay with that for tonight. We do need to make the revision to the policy because we need to get that for May 1st. Otherwise, our deadline is
That's okay.
Saturday.
We're actually okay on the positions that we've already noticed people by April 1st.
Right, but what if something goes awry with
That's true.
the hearing or
True,
with
True, right.
the Board of Finance and
You're right.
something? Okay.
Yep.
And I think everybody got a copy of the CABE one. Did everybody have a chance to look at it? It was pretty straightforward, right? You feel?
Did everyone get it or was it just sent to Lisa and I? I think it was just sent to Lisa. and
I think I have it. Yeah.
The impact, Lisa and I both took a look at it. It is basically just changing, the law changed. It used to be that by law, you had to inform people by April 1st that
announced May
they were
1st.
going to be non-renewed for the following year. This is an ongoing practice in schools. It happens all the time. Teachers get pink slipped if they're non-tenured and the budget is in flux and they're concerned about the way that it's going to go. Just as a precautionary measure. But the state changed it and moved it back. So instead of the only change really to the language between the CABE and the current is the date. So the date moves from April 1st to May 1st.
Yep, that's it.
Can we get? a
Yeah,
motion?
we just never
Yes, it
updated it
was.
in the policy.
Right, can we get a motion?
I would make a motion to adjust policy 4117.4 to change the date from April 1st until May 1st.
Second,
All those in favor, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, motion carries. Do we have any other public comment this evening? Not seeing any, can we get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstain. Good work. More to come. I'm sorry about having to add another meeting. Oh, when